If you're just tuning in, you're listening to the Real Estate Talk Show. And we have here with us Maria Perketa, and she's with FLORO Home and has extensive background in appliances. And we're focusing on that because, of course, we have an overwhelming amount of questions or maybe a little sense of confusion. And you've just touched on something fantastic. Here we are going into measurements of the kitchen, but you're saying measure your front door, your back door, every access point of how we're going to bring these appliances in, please, so that we know, can we even fit them in? So now we've done that, and we've measured our openings that get into the home. And also, if it is a condo, understanding the condo corp, the elevator, how are we going to get them in?
Townhouses and basement apartments and
great point.
And sometimes it's just a matter of inches, and that's it. It's 2
that
inches.
That inch can make all the difference. Even if you take the door off, it's not happening. Take the trim, the molding, whatever. It's still not happening. So then now we're in the kitchen. And when they're measuring, you had said, the best thing to do is have an appliance specialist. This is somebody and something that I've done and I've used. And of course, Maria, you look after us beautifully because you help us do it right the first time around. Meaning that you take the right measurements, you understand the dimensions of the kitchen, but you also know what will work.
Correct.
Whether it's a double door or a single door. I mean, Simon, there's reasons why, depending on where your counter, the location of the fridge even. Mm-hmm. Sometimes having that one big door opening up, and if it's left or a righty.
Which side's the handle on? One of my pet peeves.
Your hinges.
Yeah, the hinges. I mean, so help us with all of that. Now we've got the measurements of how to get in. Now we're in. What should we think about when we're talking appliances?
When you're in the kitchen, you may have a challenge that poses with your island.
Okay.
Again, there we have to ensure that if it's not a counter depth fridge, we may be dealing with a depth that won't allow the door to fully open. Or you're able to open your doors, but you're not able to take your bins out. So again, you have to really evaluate your space so that that appliance that you do select is functional for you.
And Simon, you mentioned, I remember once when you were showing a beautiful high-end property and you had indicated that you couldn't open. He opens up everything. And you were opening up the appliance, and in particular it was the dishwasher, and you couldn't, the door itself was actually scratching. I mean, it was that close to the center island that was there.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't walk through. It was the same problem with the fridge where you said it, where you can actually open the door, but then the drawers won't open.
That's it.
Yeah, so how do you get the lettuce out? How do you deal with all of that stuff? Just minor, it's like that license
But that turned off your clients right away.
Well, sure, because it just looks like, what else is wrong with the house that we haven't seen? And it's such a minor thing, but it's very critical.
The other thing is when we're dealing with wall ovens, there is a limitation because you're dealing with gable to gable. So there is that size there. Sometimes we're also unable to manipulate the upper cabinets depending on how that kitchen was manufactured. So there are a lot of limitations. So you have to be wise in your selections and understand what you currently have and what you don't have. The other challenge that we found is clients not understanding that as you go from a North American double wall oven, as you go into a European double oven, the difference in the electrical output. Mm-hmm. So ensuring that if there is a change, that you need to make those modifications.
So that requires an electrician coming in, making the changes when necessary.
One of the things, rule of thumb that we always say is you're making a huge investment in your appliances. Always lean to the experts that install appliances to install your appliances.
Okay. It's worth every penny.
It's worth every penny.
All right.
It will avoid any issues that you have with the manufacturers. Most manufacturers do recommend that it is installed by a certified appliance installer.
And if not, I bet you the warranties and things are void?
More often than not, it's void.
It's void. Okay.
Yeah, we've seen countless leaks from dishwashers being improperly installed to fridges. I learned at some point years ago that you can't tilt a fridge on its side because it's easier to transport it that way. You ruin the mechanism inside with the gases and so on. So there's stuff that people don't know that they don't know, and I can respect they're trying to save money, but the old saying is you can have whatever you want. Just the question is how much do you want to pay for it? Because you could rebuild cabinets if it doesn't fit, but that gets really pricey.
And the other thing is you have to deal with your insurance company. Because the question that the insurance company will come back to you and ask is, who installed your appliances? And if you said, well, my brother did, your insurance is not covered.
Yeah.
So it's really important when you're, regardless of which appliance company you're purchasing from, they're very talented people. They have the resources for you. Follow their recommendations.
Okay.
They're providing you that information for a reason.
And is this something that, Maria, it's going to break the pocketbook? I mean, we already talked about the solutions, which can be costly. But is this something that is expensive when they're bringing an expert in? I mean, usually if you're going to an appliance store, somebody that is specialist in this area, they provide all this for you. They will literally take your other appliances away for you. And we also talk a lot about the restores for Habitat for Humanity. We're big supporters of that, all of us here. Nothing should be thrown away because your appliance that you may not like the color of anymore, Simon, or you may just not like the way it functions anymore, but it functions, can be used by somebody else that absolutely needs it.
Absolutely. Anything that is within the past 10 years, Habitat for Humanity is usually pretty good at wanting to repurpose it to a family in need.
Okay.
Some of the older appliances, because of the Energuide, were not as receptive to using them again.
Okay, case by case.
It's case by case.
Take
And
photos.
Kijiji comes in handy there.
Yeah,
There's
no
always
kidding.
somebody has
Absolutely.
use for it, right?
So let's talk about your existing appliance store that's in the family. So let's get a shout out to it, if you don't mind.
Sure. It's my brother, Joe Perketa, and it's Bloor Dovercourt Appliances. The store has been there since 1957.
Unbelievable. And they are something else.
And your brother's not that old.
And he's not that old. He inherited the business from my father.
Yeah, so it's a family business.
Yes.
And Maria, let's, you're very humble, but let's be real here. You know your stuff. And you've been doing this a little while. And certainly, even in a field where, Simon, there wasn't many women that were
Yes.
what we call appliance experts, or even in the real estate building gig. And you are a fascinating lady unto itself. And we need to bring you back just to talk about that story because it's a good one. But we need to also have you back because we have so many more questions, Simon, right? In terms of the appliance component. And but we've at least got some great tips to help save a little bit of money here, and we'll have you back so we can cover lots more. So,
Awesome.
Maria.
It was a pleasure.
And also for your designing company, FLORO Home, why don't you give a shout out? How can people reach you directly there?
Info at florohome.ca.
And your website?
www.floro.ca.
All right, very good. So everybody remember, if you also want to reach out to Maria, you can come to us, right,
Yep.
Simon?
realestatetalkshow.ca or help desk at 416-366-9090.
There you go.
Wonderful as always to see you.
Wonderful as always to see you guys.
Great job, pretty lady.